You can capture your opponent's queen in 8 moves with the Budapest Gambit. Opponent starts with d4, you play knight to f6. Then c4. You reply with e5 offering a pawn, known as Budapest Gambit. Now you play this shocking move, knight to g4. Attacking the pawn on e5, he will try to defend this pawn by playing knight to f3. You play d6, offer another pawn, he will happily capture the pawn. You capture back with bishop. Now he might be uncomfortable with your knight in your territory. And try kick back with h3. You play another shocking move, knight captures on f2, forking the queen and the rook. Now he has to capture the knight, so king captures. Now you sacrifice your bishop by playing bishop g3 check, king has to capture, and now you capture the free queen. Subscribe for more tricks like this.
Force your opponent to give up their queen or resign in just 9 moves with this Siberian trap. Opponent starts with e4. You play c5, the Sicilian defense. d4, this is known as Smith-Morra Gambit. Capture the pawn. If he offers another pawn by c3, to get rapid development, capture that pawn as well. So knight captures on c3, you play knight to c6, knight to f3, play e6 continuing development. Bishop to c4, a normal move. Start to set trap with queen to c7. If opponent castles, then bring your knight out, queen to e2, to bring bishop out, connect rooks and complete development. Shock your opponent with knight to g4, he will mostly play h3 to kick your knight back. This is the most common mistake many players does. Ignore that, because it's a blunder, and play knight to d. Now opponent has to give up his queen, because if he do not and play any queen move to save the queen, then there is checkmate in. And you will win the game easily. Notice why queen to c7 was a trap. Subscribe for more traps like this.
Here is the trick you can play in your own game to win in just 6 moves using black. If your opponent plays d4, I don't like to play d4 though, then you play knight to f6, he will try to grab the center with knight to d2, which is horrible move to play. Then you play e5, opponent will think it's a free pawn and grab it. Now you play knight to g4, he will most likely play h3 to take your knight. You just play knight to e3 to attack black queen, he will think it's a free knight and will take it with c-pawn. He just fall into our trick, now checkmate in 2 moves. Queen to h4 check, only move is g3 and queen captures on g3 checkmate. And you win in 6 moves. Subscribe for more tricks. This trap you will face more often, so you have to know this. This is called a fried liver attack. You start with Italian game. They will play knight to f6. You play knight to g5, threatening to fork the rook and queen. This is called fried liver attack. So opponent must block this with d5. But after he captures d5, knight captures d5. You sacrifice the knight on f7. After king captures, you check them with queen. Then after king to g8. You follow with queen captures on d5. Let them take your queen, because there is checkmate to follow. Subscribe for more attacks like this. Here is the nasty chess trap to win at chess faster. You play e4. Black plays e5. Symmetrical. Knight f3. Knight to c6. You play c3 to play d4. This is called Ponziani. Black plays knight f6. You play d4 as planned. Black takes on e4. You play d5 attacking the knight. Black drops his knight back, and you take on e5. There is a huge trap. d6 attacking the knight, you ignore and play bishop b5 check. Black plays c6 and you capture the pawn. If black captures, then you play c takes b7 check. Black block with bishop, you play bishop takes d7. Queen takes and you bring another queen. Black is defenseless, they block with queen. And you deliver the checkmate. Subscribe for more trap. This is the trap can be used by black to destroy white's position. Trap was invented by world champion Emanuel Lasker. White starts with d4. You play d5, c4, this is called queen's gambit. You ignore this and play e5. This is called Albin counter gambit. If white accepts the gambit by playing d captures on e5, then you play d4. White attacks the pawn by e3. You play bishop to b4 check, bishop blocks, then you play this devious move d captures on e3. If white captures your bishop on b4 considering it's a free piece, then you fall for the trap. You play e captures on f2 with check. If he captures the pawn with king, then white loses the queen. So white has to play king to e2. You play f captures on g1 knight with check. King goes to e1 and queen to h4 check. White is hopeless in this position and you can easily win this. Good luck. Subscribe for more traps like this. Is the devious chess trap you can use in your game and win easily. Trust me, people fall for this. It starts with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6 and d4, the Scotch Gambit. If opponent accepts the gambit by playing e captures on d4, then you play this spooky move. Knight to g4, most of the time they want to get rid of this knight and play h6. You capture on f7, they think knight is trapped and capture the knight with king. You play bishop to c4 check if king to e8. Then they fall for the trap, and checkmate is unavoidable. Queen to h5 check, only move g6, queen captures on g6, king to e7, queen to f7 check, king to d6, bishop to f4 check, knight to e5, queen to d5 check, king to e7 and queen captures on e5 is checkmate. Subscribe for more tricks and traps. This is another nasty chess trap in Ponziani opening. Again you go e4 and bring your knight out and play c3 to play d4, knight f6, d4. Now opponent might capture your pawn on e4. You attack his knight, he will save and capture pawn on e5, knight will jump to g6 to attack your knight, lot of horsing around. You attack his other knight by bishop. He will capture on f2 forking queen and rook thinking you have to capture with king and next move capture the knight in the center. But that is blunder. Instead you capture on g6, knight captures queen and now capture on f7 with check, king goes to e7, bishop g5 check, king d6, knight c4 check king c5. Now you play this slow move knight to a3 protecting the knight on c4. If he captures your bishop then it's before checkmate. It's easy to miss this move. Like and subscribe to my channel for more traps. This is why you must have chess opening knowledge. So when someone plays weird opening you can immediately punish them. If white plays f3 or f4, it's really a bad move from start, weakening the diagonal of king. You play e5. Opening the queen's diagonal. If white plays g4, then it's a checkmate. Queen to h4. Subscribe so you will not make any mistake in your game. You will come across this trap one day or the other if you play Ruy Lopez. So you better know this. It starts with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5. This is known as Spanish opening or Ruy Lopez. Now a6, Morphy's defense. Bishop to a4, knight to f6, castle by white. Now knight captures on e4, d4, b5 attacking the bishop, bishop to b3, d5. D captures on e5, bishop to e6, c3 making room for the bishop on c2. Bishop to e7 and rook to e1. Castle, knight to d4. These are the first 11 moves you have to know. Now the next move looks like normal developing move but it's a blunder. Queen to d7. You can take immediate advantage by playing knight captures on e6. Queen has to capture or pawn capture, doesn't matter. But next is rook captures on e4. And white has 3 points of advantage and you can easily win this. Good luck. Subscribe for more traps like this. This is very dangerous trap. One mistake and white is gone. It starts with e4 and we have Italian game. Knight to f6, two knights defense. Knight to g5, white tries to fork the black queen and rook by going on f7. You play bishop to c5, called Traxler counterattack. Knight captures on f7 the fork, you play bishop captures on f2 with check, king captures on f2 keeping the fork, knight captures on e4 with check. King to e3, queen to h4 defending the knight. And now if he captures the rook, then he fallen into our trap and he is gone. Queen to f4, king to d3, knight to b4 check, only move king to e2, and queen to f2 is checkmate. Subscribe for more. Do you want to trick your opponent with Halloween's treat? Then, this is the most famous Halloween gambit for you. It starts with e4. And we have 4 knights opening. Now knight captures on e5, the Halloween's gambit. Knight captures on e5, play d4, knight goes back, attack the other knight. Play h4, most often black will play h5, bishop to c4, bishop to b4, pining the knight, bishop to g5 attacking the queen, bishop defends, now play queen to f3 setting up the mate at f7, so scared opponent will play f6, and this is blunder, queen to d5, if d6 to attack e5, then there is mate in 8. Subscribe for more gambits and traps like this. This trap is for super players like you, it's known as fishing pole trap. It starts with e4, and we have Ruy Lopez, now black plays knight to f6, Berlin defense, white castles. You play this stunning move knight to g4. White might get uncomfortable and will play h3, you just ignore and play h5 offering the knight. He will happily capture the knight, you capture the pawn attacking the knight and opening the rook file. Knight will go to e1, now you play this stunning move queen to h4. He has to play f3 to make room for king, checkmate is coming. You play g3 to block f2, now white is without option, either he will resign or play random move like a3 and face checkmate in next move. Subscribe for more traps like this. Start with knight to f3, the ready opening. d5, play e4, the Tennyson gambit. If opponent captures your pawn, then play this scary move, knight to g5. c6, common move, reply with d3, offering another pawn. So he captures on d3, play bishop captures on d3. Now opponent will try to get rid of knight on g5 and play h6, and that's the blunder. Play knight captures on f7, king has to capture or black will lose the queen. It's a checkmate in 5, play queen to h5 check, if g6 blocking the check, then capture on g6 will be checkmate. If king to f6, queen to g6 check, king to e5, bishop to f4 check, if king captures the bishop, then queen to g3 is checkmate. If king goes to d4, then again it's a checkmate and you win in 10 moves. Subscribe for more opening tricks like this. e4, c5, now b4, the wing's gambit. If black takes the pawn, then white gets a strong center. So black plays e6 protecting the pawn. Pawn captures, bishop captures, d4 attacking the bishop, bishop moves to b6, c3 solidifying the center. d5 attacking the e4, e5 locking the center. Knight to f6, bishop to d3 and knight to e7, preparing to castle. Knight to f3, now if black castles here, then he is gone. Bishop captures on h7 with check, king captures and knight g5 check, if king g8 then it's a checkmate in 6 moves. Before checkmate, subscribe to my channel and help my work, I try to bring useful content in for you guys. Let's see the checkmate. Queen to h5, rook to e8 making some room for king. Queen h7 check, king f8. Bishop a3 check, pining the knight, and after significant loss of material black gets checkmated. Wanna win at chess in just 8 moves? Then here is the trap you can learn. You play e4 and if opponent plays e5 you play knight to f3 attacking the pawn on e5. They will defend that pawn with knight to f6, then you play bishop to c4 opening called Italian game. If d6 then it's a bad move which blocks the bishop, a knight to c3, bishop to g4 pins the knight to the queen. h3 attacking the bishop, if takes the knight then take you might win by checkmate. But if bishop to h5, then you take on e5, if black takes the knight then you take the bishop. If he takes the queen then, it's all over. Bishop takes f7 check, king e7 and knight d5 is checkmate and you win in 8 moves. Subscribe for more traps.